Rescue missions don't always end when the scene is cleared. The toughest part of the job isn't always the call. Sometimes it's what comes after. And it doesn't always hit right away. Sometimes it might be days, weeks, or even months later. Courage is one thing. Recovery is another. Welcome to the Real ResQ Podcast, part of Vertical Helicast family, alongside the Hangar Z Podcast, the Helicopter Podcast, Valor Flight Crew, and the Vertical MRO Podcast. Discover every show at verticalhelicast.com. A shout out to our sponsors for this episode, Airbus, pioneering sustainable aerospace for a safe and united world. Check them out, airbus.com. Blue Drop Training and Simulation, innovative training and interactive technologies. Learn more at bluedropts.com. Precision Aviation Group. Their precision is the key to your performance. Learn more, precisionaviationgroup.com. And if you want to help support this podcast even more, shoot over to the realresqstore.com and check out what we have for cool swag. In this episode, we dig into how peer support, awareness, and practical mental health tools are changing the way rescuers handle stress, with the end goal that they can keep showing up and still come home whole. And we're doing it with someone who knows this world firsthand. Here's a few fun facts about her. Her favorite book is The Little Prince. She loves surfing as much as rock climbing, and she'll tell you that surfing is where she built her resilience. Please welcome to the show, Miss Josie McKee. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Real ResQ Podcast. In this special episode, it's an ASTerisk episode with my girl, Josie McKee. She is the Director of Communications and Operations at Responder Alliance. Miss Josie, how are you, ma'am?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Heck yeah. And you and I are about to have a great conversation, which revolves around a lot of mental health stuff and keeping us on the straight and narrow, on the up and up. And it all revolves around a proactive tool that has been designed to mitigate the impact of stress from high-risk occupations. That's a mouthful. Some people might call that PTSD and make it seem like so much easier, or shell shock from back in the day. Come on, Josie.
Yeah, so this is sort of a new language out there, newish, that we're utilizing to help actually share language about what it's like when people are impacted early, before it gets to that point of being post-traumatic stress disorder, because it's a gradual progression.
Yeah, and I love the word that that started with, and this is all you gave me this right here, so I had to read it and be like, oh yeah, I gotta get this right. But it's proactive. It's being ahead of the game for anybody,
Yeah.
and those of us that are in this field of search and rescue, law enforcement, firefighting, we see some crazy stuff. And like you and I were actually talking earlier that I get a chance, my daughter being a cop, she calls me all the time. It's like, Dad, we want to hear a story. And I'm like, let it ride. Let's go. Start talking. And I love that part of it. But yeah, this is cool. I like the fact that you guys are doing this.
Yeah, it's really important work. I've seen the value of it firsthand, both the impact of my own work in search and rescue, and then all the people that we work with, that they hear about it, they start utilizing these tools, and it really makes a genuine change in their work.
And you have a personal story where these tools, like you used this method and it really helped you.
Yeah, and I would say really the personal story goes back to when I didn't have these tools, and where I
Oh,
was
even
very
better.
impacted. So
Oh, that's
um,
awesome.
yeah, so my kind of early days working in rescue work, I started on the search and rescue team in Yosemite National Park, which involves, it's a very busy national park, and involves a lot of technical terrain, a lot of people getting hurt, injured, lost. And the search and rescue team there is hired on for a summer season. It's a longer summer season. It's from April through maybe November or so, specifically with the skill set of being able to climb the big walls and do some of the swiftwater things and all of the technical terrain that's in the park. So I come in with this like, oh, this is the dream job, being able to do cool things, high angle rescue, and I love rock climbing. Like that's why I want to be in Yosemite. And so for a few years of doing this work, I'm going out climbing big walls, doing like hard, scary stuff on my own time, and then also rescuing people that are doing similar things, or not. They're involved in whatever different activities that they're participating in the park. But what I think really impacted me, and as I've started working with Responder Alliance and understanding what this is this concept of personal identification is a trigger, a risk factor for developing a longer term stress injury, where responding to rock climbing accidents and fatalities while I was going out on those same walls doing the same stuff has this way of triggering your nervous system to make you feel like you're perpetually unsafe. And so
Oh, yeah.
that's,
gosh, I didn't even think of that.
with stress injury, is this longer term, what we call the survival switch, turns on. You stay in this elevated state of stressful arousal long term. And we can get into more of the science behind that, but back to the story is that after several seasons of this, and then my off seasons, I'm going down to Patagonia and climbing, and it was in the spring of 2015. I had just come back from Patagonia, and we climbed Fitzroy, which is like, if people don't know what Fitzroy is, if the Patagonia company logo, that little mountain range, like it's the big peak on that mountain range. But it was a dream climb, and like in all accounts, looking back, you're like, oh, it was a successful mission. We did this thing that we set out to do, but actually we were caught in a storm on the mountain where the wind was blowing like, I don't know, actually I should look at the metrics of it, because I think there's like a definitive like range of wind speed that does this, where it's like blowing you over like 80 miles an hour or something like that. I don't know. But like you can't stand up, much less climb a mountain. And you certainly can't rappel in those winds. And this is a big technical peak with like vertical walls on all aspects of it. And so for about, I think 16, 20 hours or so, we were kind of unable to move, unable to do anything. We set up a little tent with four of us, like a two-person tent with four of us on this little ledge that we chopped ice out of. And we couldn't put the tent poles in the tent because they would have just snapped. So we like sat in each corner of the tent and held it up and melted enough ice to survive the night. Like we were all very thirsty, very hungry, because it like you couldn't cook in those conditions.
Wow.
And I remember all night that night thinking, we might not be able to get out of this. Like this storm was unpredicted in the weather models that we had seen. And so we didn't really know, like, was it going to clear up? Was it like the weather models that we had gotten reports of weren't following what we expected? And so it was, we could survive for a couple days, but if it kept going, and Patagonia has notoriously bad weather, right?
Yeah.
So all night long, didn't sleep, thought I could die up here. Like we might not make it out. And then as the sun came up, like the wind is still blowing, but there's less clouds in the sky, and it's starting to go from like knocking us over to like, okay, now if you shout, you can hear each other. It gradually slowed down. And then it was a beautiful day, and we summited, because going up and over and continuing via the route that we had planned was actually more efficient than bailing from where we were at that point. So we made it up and over. We're awake for a whole nother night rappelling. And, got out. Everything was fine.
Holy
But
cow.
yeah, so it was a pretty gnarly experience with that, there had been a fatality in the mountains during that time. There was a bunch of rock fall. Like I almost dropped a block that was like the size of a small like RV refrigerator on one of the people that was climbing below us. Like
Oh
it
my
was like,
gosh.
just, I mean, talk about heightened state of arousal for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So we come back from that, like I'll
Wow.
segue on this story because I think this actually ties in. We had a layover in Miami, Florida for like 12 hours on our return flight home, like 2 days later. And we went down to the beach and it was such a contrast. And it was so recharging actually to be at the beach for a little bit and like, oh, this is how people normally vacation.
Oh, that's great.
But it was only for, maybe 4 hours that we had time at the beach. And then we go back to Yosemite to the search and rescue team. I was down there with one of the guys that I worked on the team with. So we like did all this together, came back together, and then, responding to more calls. So I went out on a big climb that spring, that we were developing a new route in Yosemite. And the terrain that I was climbing on was really easy for me at that point.
Okay.
But because we were developing a new route, it wasn't defined of where I should go. And we're about 1,000 feet off the ground, and I'm traversing out off of this anchor that my climbing partner was at, and I just froze. Like I had no ability to make decisions anymore. I was looking at this crack system over to the right. Should I place a bolt for protection? And I couldn't. Normally, I can answer those questions. Like I make a decision, and I do. And I just couldn't. And it was
That's wild.
wild because I am normally really like have the capacity to deal with whatever, or could at least like make the decision to just bail and not do it at all because it didn't feel safe. But it took my climbing partner talking me down. We went back to the anchor and we bailed to the ground from there. And I was like, I can't, this is not safe for one, if my brain is doing this. Like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Right.
Something that you could
Um,
normally do without any issue is now
yeah.
like hard.
Yeah, exactly. And what I know now, years later, is that was a stress injury. That was me still being in this heightened state of arousal and not having room for complexity, not being able to make kind of simple decisions because I was overwhelmed. Um, and it was just this cumulative buildup of all of these things. Um,
Wow.
And because, at the time I was like, oh, I want to just be able to perform athletically. Like I was, at the peak of my climbing career, I want to keep doing these things. And now I can't. And I don't want to, put myself or my partners in this risk of me not being able to function when you're in these high
Yeah.
risk
Yeah.
situations, right? Which, I mean, also translates not just to climbing, but to the rescue work that we were doing too. Like, what if I froze in the middle of a rescue?
Yeah.
So I started working with a sports psychologist actually, because I was like, I need to fix my rock climbing. But she helped me a ton with some of the stuff that actually relates a lot to what we do with Responder Alliance now. I was just starting to formulate some of the language around what I was experiencing being stress impacted, and then finding ways to reduce that stress level. It really, from a simplistic standpoint, it's like if you think about a scale where you're like, these
Yeah.
are the things that are stressing me out, and these are the things that help me mitigate that stress. Like it was tipped this way, and it just needed to like recalibrate a little bit.
Yeah.
So that was, the beginning of a longer road where I wound up. I retired from search and rescue. I was like, I don't want to do this stuff anymore. Like I just the pager when it would go off, because we would get paged out with like this beeping sound,
Yeah.
would trigger me into this state of heightened arousal. Like I would get this tight feeling in my gut. I would start sweating, and or like if I heard a helicopter flying anyway, like even if I wasn't in Yosemite, if I just heard a helicopter somewhere, like that also was kind of part of usually the more like traumatic, impactful rescues usually had a helicopter come in. So those sounds would really trigger me.
Interesting.
And so I didn't come back to search and rescue in Yosemite. Wound up moving to Lander, Wyoming, where I live now, because there's amazing, beautiful rock climbing here, but it's all like way more well protected, safer, smaller, just fun. And this is like this is part of what my sports psychologist worked with me on was like, what is fun about rock climbing? Like maybe you should do more of that. And it's okay to still do like these big, hard, scary things, but like what is a healthy balance for you? And I was like, oh, it has been like 90% hard, big, scary and 10% like fun. And it probably should be the other way around. So living in Lander,
Agreed.
Wyoming, playful sport climbing. If there's any climbers listening, like limestone sport climbing, it's really fun. It's okay. If
Noted.
you don't know
I am making mental notes right now because I love sport climbing. It's one of my favorites. Like bolts are already in the rock, and all I got to do is clip in, clip, done. Let's keep going. Oh, I'm all in. Yeah.
For people that aren't rock climbers, I know that rock climbing sounds like generally unsafe, but this style of climbing is about like really the things that can go wrong or are if the humans involved in the system do something catastrophically stupid,
Yeah.
like not tying in, which happens.
Yep.
People make errors with that, but otherwise pretty safe. So I'm in Lander. This one of the guys that was the training manager at the time for the search and rescue team here, which responds to incidents around the Wind River Mountains, and various other kind of areas outside of the mountains, asked me to come help do a technical rope rescue training for the team because they didn't have anybody on the team that was as knowledgeable in that skill set as I had been practicing it in Yosemite for years. So I'm like, oh yeah, like that's a great way to be involved and help train the team, but not go on rescues anymore. Like I don't want to touch that stuff.
Yep.
And so I start getting involved in that. And then I start realizing that, oh, I've actually like recovered a bit. Like maybe I could go on some rescues here and there. Like it doesn't sound threatening to me anymore. And then Griffin Lawrence, who is now the director of Responder Alliance, also works on the search and rescue team here. And he decided to start utilizing Responder Alliance tools with our search and rescue team. And we developed this resilience team. And I was like, oh, I want to be part of that. And over the years in between being on search and rescue in Yosemite and when I started being involved with the team here, I had met Laura, who is our founder, had developed all of these tools and kind of heard about Responder Alliance's work peripherally. And then when Griffin brought it in, I was like, oh, this seems great. So I got involved in that and then just felt like I had more capacity as I started utilizing these tools, developing this language around what stress injury is. I started going on more and more rescues. And one of the other things, so now I'm like fully back involved in search and rescue in Lander because
Back, baby. That's what I heard right there. I'm so excited because I love that. Like I love that. Like yeah. Sorry, I got part of that. I got excited about it. Like yes, because this is not the first time I've heard stuff like this. This is like you get hammered. You're having a hard time, and then you're like, oh, I got this. I took some time off. I went through some steps and I'm back, baby.
yeah,
Let's go. Sorry, I diverse.
it's good. So I think that that's really illustrates the point of how these tools are useful and how recognizing what you need and taking some space and recovering is such a critical piece to all of this. And then helping other people, it became this like, oh yeah, I want to, train the rest of the team. I want to get everybody access to this stuff so they don't end up as far down the rabbit hole as I was. You don't need to burn out to get there. Like you can maintain healthy vitality, engagement throughout your career without having to dip out of it the way I did for several years.
And the more I do this job and even the more I talk to people, the more I hear that over and over and over. Like you do not have to go down this terrible path to get hurt and or where your mind just can't handle it anymore. Like you're just over it. I've listened to guys and girls, people talk about the sound, like hearing the alarm go off and being like, no, I'm over. I don't want to go. Or they go to climb into the aircraft and they're like, I'm just isn't fun for me anymore. Like when you
Yep.
lose that, so for me personally, I still love to fly. I still love to be called out for missions. If I'm not done now, then no problem. But I know people that are, they're just like, nah, I'm good. Let the younger guys take it. Let them do it. I'm like, well, okay. Like good. Yeah. Good for them. Like knowing where you're at. But you got to that point because maybe there was something that could have been prevented earlier. So
Yeah. And at that point, so it was, the seasons that I was in Yosemite it was 2012 to 15 in there. So it was like, I feel like right before this stuff was really taking hold in the general population. And then, Laura was starting to do the work after that. And then COVID hit. And I think all healthcare workers and really every human globally was stress impacted by that. So if there was anything good that came out of it was that we went from, those times 15 years ago where we just didn't really know how to talk about this stuff and people weren't really aware of what was going on to after COVID, we're like, oh yeah, like mental health is a thing and you can get impacted by being exposed to just ongoing stressors. So there's been a cultural shift around it, I think.
Which I would agree with that as well, for sure. Josie, can I want to back up just a little bit because I want to learn a little bit more about you. First question, where are you from? And then two, how did you get into like rescue work and climbing and like, for those that don't know, what you're talking about is like multi-tier, multi-pitch climbing, dropping gear in and then taking gear up and just keep going up until you hit the top. So how did you get into all this? We're going to divert real quick to thank our sponsors.
Airbus. Airbus provides the most efficient helicopter solutions to its customers who serve, protect, save lives, and safely carry passengers in demanding environments. Its civil and military helicopters are flying all over the world, making missions possible. Visit airbus.com for more information.
And
Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory, globally 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
I got into climbing when I was a kid in the gym in Santa Cruz. So I grew up in the Santa Cruz Mountains of California.
Nice.
Little tiny town by the ocean and kind of Northern California, Central California. People in like far Northern California be like, that's not Northern California. But
no, it's Central. I lived in Humboldt Bay for a long time. That's Northern California. Santa Cruz is not. No, you might call it North. It's not.
It's Northern California, though. That's
true.
That I want to make sure.
It's not SoCal.
Culturally and like geologically, ecologically, I think it's more similar to Northern California. Anyway.
Okay, you might have me there. I might have to agree with that statement. You got your surfers. Oh, you did? Okay, so you know it. Yeah.
But yeah, so there was a little gem, shout out to Pacific Edge for getting my start. But yeah, I started climbing there as a kid. And then when I got my driver's license, my dad was like, you need to get a job. So I got a job at the gym.
Awesome.
For gas. And that was.
Climb for free.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know how that goes. Oh, wait a minute. You get to pay me. Yeah, you pay me to be here and I get to use the gym for free? Oh, what? Oh, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah. As a 16-year-old, like that was the life, right?
Dream.
But for better or for worse, like I was hooked on rock climbing by that point. Like especially meeting people at the gym, like my coworkers there that were going outside climbing on the weekends, and um, got my first little exposure to what real climbing was like. Oh, this is where it can take me. And actually, one of those early trips, I think I was maybe 17, maybe 18 or something. We went over from Santa Cruz to the Eastern Sierras, which you drive through Yosemite National Park to get there.
Oh, wow.
And so my buddy that I was with, he had climbed El Capitan before, and he's like, "Wait, Josie, you've never been to Yosemite?" I had been when I was like 5. I didn't remember anything about it, but like
Yeah.
since I was a climber, you know. He's like, "Okay, we gotta like go in and sit in the meadow below El Capitan and check out the climbers." So we drive in. It had just gotten dark, and the full moon was rising. So if you haven't seen granite in the full moonlight, like it lights up white. It's so awe-inspiring, gorgeous. And then there's these
Totally.
little headlamps. So like people that don't know about this, like people sleep on the wall up there. Like people will spend, 3 to 6 days, 6, 7, even multiple weeks on that wall. And so you're seeing headlamps of people that are setting up their camp on the wall, like these little like constellations of stars across the wall. And I was like,
That
wait a
is so
second.
badass.
I'm like, wait, if climbing can get me to like, how do I do that? I want to do that. And he like talks me through a little bit of it, and it's probably, I think maybe it took me another 2 years, 3 years before I developed the skill set to start climbing that stuff. But that was where the seed was planted. And then from there, like went to college. I went to college in Humboldt for a couple of years. That's how I wound
Humboldt
up.
State University?
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Which I wound up taking some time off. I planned to take a semester off and go spend time in Joshua Tree to develop some of my trad climbing skills, and then wind up in Yosemite in summer. So that was spring of whatever, 2006 or something like that, 7 maybe.
Nice.
And then I didn't go back. I wound up. Then I got some work in the climbing industry guiding. I fell in love with Yosemite, started climbing walls there, saw the search and rescue team as a job, had gotten a wilderness first responder cert in the interim, took my EMT class so I could get some work doing that search and rescue work, and got a job there. Eventually wound up going back to school, but it was this like semester off to go rock climbing turned into a number of years where I, followed that
Good
path
for
and
you.
then started working in rescue. And really, it was formational for me.
So the rescue you're talking about like climbing rescue, like you're climbing up to like help people get back down, or
Yeah,
how is
it varies a fair bit on, what the condition of the patient is, where they are on the wall, all of these factors. Probably the majority of technical rescues that we would do, we would actually go from the top of the wall down, so that you're not actually having to climb up below them, but you're like lowering a rescuer to get to the patient, and then continuing to lower all the way down, or maybe hauling back up to the top. But it's just a lot easier to operate systems, a lot safer for rescuers to just be operating from flat ground on top of something. So that's kind of like the standard. And for context, El Cap SARS are, that wall is 3,000 feet tall. And so in order to go top down and lower somebody all the way down to the bottom, that's 3,000 feet of rope. We had 2 1,200-foot ropes and a 600 that we would tie all of them together. You have to pass knots as you go and lower down.
holy
wild systems to do that.
damn?
And those ropes, they weigh 100 pounds each or so. So we usually would get flown into the top. They would sling load all of our gear in with the helicopter, and then we would start a rescue. So that process takes some time. And so if there's a patient that's lower on the wall or in more critical condition, sometimes those would get short hauled, or sometimes we would climb up to them if we needed to, because that could be an easier way to do it. So it varies and depends. But yeah, it's a pretty big scale operation to do rescues off of those walls.
That's friggin' awesome. I think I need to come hang out with you is what I think. But yeah. All right.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'm going to bring us back a little bit to like the mental health side of this, right? So you personally have gone through some stuff. You've seen your own. What I want to do is I want to get a little more of the Responder Alliance side of this, right? So when you keep talking about like the tools that you're using, what are you actually referring to? Because here's what I know, and I'd like to get a little more clarity on this. You guys have like an incident support tool that you use.
Mhm.
There's a stress continuum,
Yep.
and then the 333 protocols.
Yeah. Those
All
are
right.
some of the big ones that we use.
So what is this, and how can people look at it and use it?
Yeah. So this is, I mean, there's a lot to talk about from this context.
Love it. I love it.
Starting with the stress continuum, I've got one right here actually, because I like to look at it. It is a color-coded scale, and this is adapted from the U.S. military, from combat and operational stress first aid is what they were
Nice.
calling it. And it was, it's a pre-deployment tool for them to recognize if people are kind of ready to go into deployment, or as you progress. It's within each one of those color-coded categories, you can see that their symptoms or behaviors of being impacted by stress kind of in a progressive sense. So if you're in the green, you're ready, you have capacity to withstand stressors. And as you progress on that scale, if you notice that you're experiencing, and a lot of these things are changes in sleep, disengagement, like lack of desire to be at work, or being disengaged from people, starting to have more conflict potentially, or just withdrawn. Everybody's a little different on how they progress, but most of the time, if you look at these colors, you'll notice some things that jump out for you, and you're like, oh yeah, that's what I experience when I'm getting stress impacted. And why this tool is so beneficial is that we know that people are more likely to develop a traumatic stress injury, such as post-traumatic stress disorder, if
Yeah.
they respond to major incidents and are exposed to significant stressors when they're already stress impacted, like if they're already in the orange or red, and then they expose themselves to more things, because it's really about our perceived capacity to handle it. And if we go into something that's gnarly and traumatic and we're in the green and we're ready for it, our nervous system perceives that we have capacity to handle it. But if we're in the orange, our nervous system is just going to be like, no, it's too much. And
Yeah.
that survival switch that I mentioned, that concept of, oh, we're in this ongoing state of not being safe, just stays on. And we're in this mode of like, I'm not processing the stress. I can't handle more. I'm overwhelmed. And that can stay on long term. So this stress continuum tool is an awareness tool for yourself to recognize when you're stress impacted, that something needs to change and you need to reduce your stressors, like I did. Hopefully not for years of time off, but maybe just like, hey, I'm not going to go on this mission today. Or like, can I do something different than the thing that might really stress impact me within this mission? And so there's always, in rescue work, I always say that there's always something else you can do to be useful to the mission without either having to talk to the grieving family members, which can be super traumatic, or actually having to like clean up things that are, nasty, gory. So that's kind of the decision making part of the tool, right? Like, okay, you see where you are, let's make some other decisions.
So one of the things that's really interesting about this, and I'm reading, do you mind if I read all of this to just kind of what we're looking at? All right. So individual stress continuum. If you're in the green, you're ready to go. You've got healthy sleep, healthy personal relationships, spiritual and emotional health, physical health, emotional availability, gratitude, vitality, room for complexities, and sense of a mission. You go into the yellow, now you're reacting, you're starting to get a little sleep loss, distance from others, change in attitude, fatigue, avoidance, short fuse, criticism, lack of motivation, cutting corners, lack of or loss of creativity, and loss of interest.
I heard you chuckle with the short fuse piece.
Yeah.
Something that's really common and actually really sad is that people that are starting to get stress impacted by the work become, oh, that guy, like we don't want him around, or like, it creates this friction. And I mean, sometimes people will get fired, or people just become less engaged because people don't want to be around them anymore, which makes it worse. Like, we need our connection, we need our support. So recognizing that, like, similar to a head injury, where someone with a head injury might start having, like, maybe more aggressive behavior or more agitated with things. Like,
Yeah.
hey, there's swelling in the brain. Like, we want to give them care. It's the same thing. Like, your nervous system is in this hyper state of arousal and everything is a threat. So let's try to make the situation less threatening. So anyway, I wanted to speak to that because I think it's a change in perspective that we all kind of need to look at.
So part of the reason I laughed at this is as I'm reading over this, we have two more to go over, the orange and the red. So the injured and critical. I can pick out things on all four of these lists that I personally have been through and gone through. And the short fuse, I'm probably in a yellow quite a bit. That's terrible. My wife is like, no. Well, she might be, yeah. No, it's not terrible. But there are times where, like, that short fuse, it's there for me personally, and I'm aware of it. So that's something else that I want to mention. Like, these are ways that you can be aware. But let me keep going. So, injured, sleep issues and nightmares. I hear a lot of that, actually.
Yeah.
Disengaged relationships, feeling trapped, exhausted, physical symptoms, emotional numbness. Oh, oh my gosh. Isolation and burnout. And then we get into the red and the critical, and that's insomnia, broken relationships, intrusive thoughts, anxiety and panic, depression, feeling lost or out of control. Oh my gosh. I can't tell you, like, that I can specifically think about things in my life where, like, I have no control over anything right now. And anyway, thoughts of suicide, that personally has never been me. But I can see, and I've heard that from other people. So, and then blame and hopelessness. Josie, I'm telling you, there, every spectrum here I've been on, every one of them, for sure.
Yeah. And I
don't know if that's a good thing. I feel like I should get on a couch right now and start talking to you.
One out of it. And I'll say a couple things to this tool. One is, the goal is not to always be in the green. Like, it is predictable that we're going to, like, being in the yellow, for a lot of people in these high risk occupations, rescue work, law enforcement, firefighting, all of these things, actually they operate really well in the yellow, and it's kind of normal for them to be there. What becomes kind of bad, or really, red flag you should be aware of, is that if you never come out of it, if you're never coming toward the green, and you forget perspective on what green looks like for you.
Yeah.
And as you progress along the continuum toward the red, it's harder and harder to see the green. It's harder and harder to remember what you're like as a human when you have that capacity. And it's harder and harder to get back to it by yourself.
Oh my gosh, you are literally speaking directly into my soul right now. I can tell you right now, and I truly mean this, that when I met my wife, she brought me from, like, an orange-red state back to a green state. Like, she helped me, whether she knows it or not. I believe she does now, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, Josie. I'm excited right now. I'm totally excited.
Good for people to hear this stuff and to realize, like, hey, there's not something wrong with you. You're not, like, weak. You're not a head case. It's you've been exposed to enough stress that your nervous system is perceiving that you're still under a threat. So you need to come back to safety. And human connection is one of the most powerful factors in doing that. And so that's why getting help to come back, whether it's talking to friends, loved ones, or therapists. And what I really like to say when I introduce the stress continuum is that, like, a lot of people will recognize, as you did, like, oh, hey, I'm stress injured, or I have been stress injured. And so if that's you and you're listening to this right now, ask for support, reach out to someone, go see a therapist. Like, it is super beneficial. And I'll add on to that too, where, and I've been working for Responder Alliance for 2 years now. I've been like in depth involved in this stuff. I'm in a graduate school program studying performance psychology. So I'm like learning about this stuff from a higher level too.
Nice.
This spring, I tore my ACL, so I had surgery. I wasn't able to do all the things that I normally do. It sucks. Don't tear your ACL. Right? Skiing. And then I had just started this grad program, and I had a kind of an event that sort of triggered me to think back to some of the stuff that I had been exposed to, and I was in the red. I was not sleeping at night. I was like repetitively processing stuff and then showing up day to day with just, I had too much going on, and I didn't have the physical outlet that I normally do. And my partner was at a, like, super supportive. He's an amazing person. He's like, Josie, maybe you should see a therapist. And I was like, practice what I preach. You're probably right.
Yeah.
And so I went back and started working with a therapist again. Like, you come, I had come back from all of it, but like sometimes you get triggered. Sometimes you get overloaded by all these things, and like support is useful.
It's interesting to hear you say this. And I think for you and I, like talking right now, I know this. Like, you know this. I remember the point when I was younger, like a young rescue swimmer, first couple of rescues that I had been on. And I've said it on here before, but like, I remember standing in the shower crying and not understanding, like, what am I crying about? Stop being a pansy. Stop it. You freaking suck it up, dude. What, you have no reason to be crying right now. But I didn't understand it at the time. And I think I talked about it, but I didn't know. And that's things like, I don't, me as one of the guys in the shop, I don't want to go to the other guys and be like, bro, I'm crying in the shower. What the hell's going on? Because they're going to be like, the fuck is wrong with you? What? I don't know if I meant to drop that. What? Like, yeah. And I don't want to be looked at as a freaking weak guy. And I know now that it's not being weak. And it's hard to look at somebody and be like, dude, you're not weak. Stop it. When I've been in that exact same situation where I'm like, I tell myself I'm going to look weak. And I get it. I get it. And I hope somebody else can clue this in and be like, oh shit. Okay, I'm feeling something like this, but I don't want to talk because I don't want to look weak. But you're not.
And that's where our tools, like the stress continuum, comes in to give some labels, give some language around, like, you don't even have to speak to even specific symptoms, but just to be able to say to your colleagues at work, hey, I'm in the orange today. Like, that stuff we did over the last couple days, like, it's been impacting me.
Right.
And that is enough. And it doesn't, like, you don't have to say you're crying in the shower. You don't even have to say you're not sleeping well at night. You can just talk about it from this like color-coded category standpoint. And it opens that door to connection. Like I said, connection is one of the most important protective factors against becoming stress injured. And so twofold benefit of helping you recognize it in yourself, but also like drawing in that connection.
Agreed. Man, this is good. I really like this. This is very cool. Very cool. I hope others can get what you and I have personally been through and seen, and can take it among themselves to say, you know what, let me take a look at this. And then I'm not afraid to talk. I mean, I talk on an open platform that's aired around the world. It's a scary thing, and at the same time, I've gotten messages that say thank you because they've had an opportunity to go out. So don't be scared. Like, it's scary to talk about things like this. It's scary to let some of your emotions out. But I think it's worth it. It's worth it in the long run, especially to help that mindset. So we're going to divert real quick to thank our sponsors.
Blue Drop Training and Simulation. Blue Drop Training and Simulation for equipping your team with essential training solutions, including highly interactive courseware and advanced VR MR simulation training tools. Explore more of Blue Drop's training solutions at bluedropts.com.
I know we've kind of hammered down hard on this, and I definitely want to go on to the next one, the incident support tool.
Yeah.
The IST.
The IST.
Does this go hand in hand?
Yeah, so all of these tools are part of a system that what we recommend, and actually it's not just us. Recently, the International Commission of Alpine Rescue put out a whole set of guidelines around or recommendations around mitigating stress in alpine rescue work. So this is like globally recommended to have these pieces in place where there's training and education, awareness of stress, injury, and impact to everybody that's going out there, but then also having systems in place at the organizational level to support people when they do get exposed to something major, when they do wind up in the orange or red. So that's not just people trying to deal with it alone. So awareness is the first step of this. And then these other tools are mostly designed in response to major incidents.
Okay.
So the incident support tool, as is in its name, is support after major incidents. And this was designed in collaboration with a pretty cool program in the Teton area of Wyoming. They have the Teton Interagency Peer Support Group, and it's all of the high risk occupations there. It's fire, EMS, ski patrol, the National Park Service with their rescue team in Teton National Park, EMS. I'm probably missing some, but all of the agencies that might be responding to critical incidents. They have a network of therapists, and they have a network of people that are peer supporters within each of those agencies. So they've, those people have trained on these tools and are someone you can just call up. If you don't want to talk to a therapist, you can access like, hey, these people like can provide some support. And so
I got a guy. Josie, I got a guy. That's perfect.
Program is really what we're kind of a concept along the lines of what we're recommending within organizations is to have a solid system in place with peer supporters in place as a first line of defense to protect people when they've been exposed to critical incidents that have a high risk of folks developing a stress injury from exposure to. What we call potentially traumatic events is the kind of blanket term that we label.
So can you give me an example of like a traumatic event? So you and I respond to a traumatic event. What would that look like for you and I?
Yeah. So what is in the tool are these specific categories of stressors that have been shown to have a high likelihood of triggering that survival switch that I mentioned, of making ourselves feel like we're continuing to be unsafe. And so what those are within, kind of broad categories, things like personal identification, like I mentioned before. Maybe you know the person you're responding to. Maybe it's an activity that you participate in a lot, like I did with rock climbing, or it's spending time with grieving family members. Those create this like sense of empathy, like this could be me, or this relates to me as a person. And then other categories are overwhelm. So things that are like really like what we tend to think of as being traumatic, like really gory, really awful things happening to people, just like severity of stuff. And then the third category is a sense of helplessness or isolation. So a lot of times what comes into that third category is what we call mission stressors, where there's maybe conflict in the mission, or there's a feeling that we don't have capacity to affect positive change. Like we don't have the tools, we don't have the personnel, we don't have, maybe it's an ongoing search that never gets resolved. Like those things can lead to mission stress. And so you and I could respond to the same incident and
Yep.
have sort of different levels of exposure to these things, um, depending on our history and our capacity going into the incident. Like, how overwhelming does it seem to be? Interpersonal stuff that we might have within the team, our role within the team, if we have a specific sense of responsibility,
Yeah.
or we know somebody. So the incident support tool is designed for every individual to be able to gauge what they've been exposed to. And the more of these things that you've been exposed to, the more likely you are to have a long-term impact.
Huh.
So it's like a diagnostic tool almost, to be like, okay, folks that have been exposed to all of this stuff, we should check in with them and provide them
Yeah.
with additional support.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you almost died out there. And how are you feeling? No, I'm good right now. I'm good. I'm totally good. Yeah, you're all freaking jacked up on adrenaline for 3 days. Let's go through this list. Yeah, where are you at? Oh, let's see. Hold on. I'll do that. Like complexity of the mission. Well, that was really hard. That's why you're jacked up on adrenaline right now. Let's put you at a 10. Like that significant exposure. I like that. And then from there you go. So, and I like the rating right here. So you have a connect, a consider, and then recommend. If anything score less than 40, you're in the green. 40 to 70, yeah, consider. There's tools to mitigation, the 333 protocol, which we're going to get into, and then follow-up gathering. And then the recommended is anything 70 and above. This is pretty cool. This is the first time I'm actually seeing this. I like this.
Yeah, and it also is an awareness tool. So this provides organizational structure to be like, okay, this is how we help people at an individual level. But also, as people learn about what these categories are of potential stressors, you start to realize, and that's when I noticed, like, oh, personal identification, it gets me. It's this thing that has a tendency to impact me. Once I learned about this incident support tool and those categories, I looked back on all of the time that I spent in Yosemite, and I was like, oh yeah, all of the rescues that I remember vividly to this day involved some sort of personal identification, whether it was a climb or fall or extended time spent with a grieving family member. Like those were the things that I struggled with. It was hard for me. And now I know, a sidebar here real quick of the utility of the awareness piece is that I wound up being an unresolved search to this day, 2 summers ago in the Wind River Mountains. And we got the call that this guy had wandered away from his family, older gentleman. And so his family was still out there, and we got flown in the like early stages of it was like late summer, so it was like first little bit of wintry precip. Like it wound up snowing on one of the times that we were out there over the next couple of days. But we flew in, did a search that evening, like before it got dark and into the dark, found nothing, spent the night with the family, camped out there, 15 miles into the backcountry. And I knew, because I know, like, I live and breathe this stuff now. I knew that family exposure was something that might impact me. And so I was able to, even in the moment, kind of remind myself, like, okay, don't get too engaged with these people. Like, be empathetic, like, be nice, do a good job, but don't, like, try not to take it on too much. And then when you get out, go do the things that help recharge you and go talk to people about this stuff. And it protected me. Like I wasn't as impacted by that as I had been in the past, because I knew that I had ways to support. And then the other piece in there is that I learned, and this is another skill set that we teach, is psychological first aid skills, which can be used in that context. So I had a little bit more efficacy in the situation, which is less mission stress. To be able to say specific things to the family. to provide support in a way that was useful. So sidebar on that, like it's super
Well,
useful
that's
to know
really
this.
good because I've never been through a type of training like that or learned how to talk to the family again. And in my personal world, I've never really seen the families on the
Yeah.
back end. Very, very rarely. When I was going through my medic program and working at the hospital for the couple of years that I was working in the hospital, I would see them, but I was always I was always in the background. It was either the doc or the nurse that had to talk to them. I was just backing them up at one point or another, just because you know the news that's coming, and you're like, all right, if they decide to get all pissed off and mad at you, and they're gonna step in, Jason, just step in front of them. Roger that. that was kind of some of the brief to go in, depending on the news that they're gonna get, because it could be the worst news that they've ever heard in their life, and that's like you are literally the bearer of bad news. You're also the same person that's walking in and be like, hey, everything's great and we're gonna live and everybody's happy and there's tears of joy. Like that. Yeah. The stuff we see as responders, as people that are in this job, it's a major roller coaster of emotions. So
yeah, absolutely.
but
And there's like a whole nother level of training to, you know, notify people of death and to like be the family liaison officer. And that's, you talk to Moose, like he does those trainings. This stuff is more just, you know, you wind up on the scene. And a lot of the people that we work with in rescue, ski patrol particularly, there's like you respond right there, and the family's like standing around, or you know, friends, loved ones, whatever.
Yeah.
And there's no buffer.
Looking at you asking, are they going to be okay?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Are you helping them? What? And you're like, what are you doing over my shoulder? Stop it.
Yeah.
But you can't say that. Go away. Let me do my job.
At high risk of stress injury too. Like if
Yeah.
they witness something. And so that's like having those tools to be able to support others is helping to mitigate stress injury in them, but also making you feel as a rescuer that you have more capacity to handle everything in the, you know, the course of a scene. So another skill set that's beneficial. But going back to the incident support tool, as you mentioned, so the system in place is to be able to recognize, okay, these are exposures that have the potential to injure someone, and we should check in with them. And the idea behind all of this is that we went from really never talking about traumatic stress to then like a lot of organizations doing this. Oh, we need to talk about it. So anybody that was involved in an incident, we're going to sit down and do this big debrief. Everybody talks about their feelings, like address it somehow. And then like that'll happen. And then time will go by, and maybe months, maybe a year later, as it did with me, that's when I recognized that something was not okay. And it wasn't like right after the incident. It's really this like period of time. And to be diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, you have to experience a bunch of these signs and symptoms of being stress injured. After a month is when you can get a diagnosis. And so nobody's noticing it at the deep, like everybody's in a heightened state of arousal at the debrief, or has potential to be, right? That debrief that happens either that evening or a couple days later or whatever. So the goal then is for people that have a high risk of exposure, that, you know, score high on the incident support tool. Then we follow them with this 333 protocol, which is to check in with them at 3 days-ish after an event to say, hey, it's normal what you might be experiencing. I'm here to support. Let's create a plan and structure. And then 3 weeks later, which is around the time where you would notice if someone had residual stress impact, we're going to check in with them again. And we check in with the stress continuum to see how people are doing, kind of like a vital signs check, right? Like it's not about how you're doing right now, it's about how you're doing over time progressively. Like, are you getting better, are you getting worse? And then at that point, at 3 weeks-ish, again, it doesn't have to be exact, but a little bit later, if they're really still experiencing that heightened state of arousal, then we're saying, hey, definitive care is what we recommend, just like a head injury, right? If you're still experiencing symptoms, let's go see a doc. Let's go see a mental health care professional. Let's get some real treatment for this stuff. And I mean, EMDR is something that is a really powerful tool for reintegrating stressful traumatic events. I don't know if you've had any familiarity with it, but
No, not that one. So if you don't mind, keep going. But what is it?
it's a therapeutic intervention for trauma, but it's called EMDR, stands for eye movement reprogramming and desensitization. But it doesn't have to be eye movement. Basically, it's this alternated kind of triggering or attention to left and right. So it can be like moving your eyes back and forth while re-experiencing a traumatic event, like processing it again, or a tapping of back and forth left to right. And what it sounds like voodoo weird stuff, but the science behind it is that the reason that these traumatic events have a long-term exposure or long-term symptoms is because we don't process the memory properly. It doesn't get stored in our long-term memory, and we're still, when we remember it, our bodies are still feeling like it's happening now. And like we're feeling unsafe now. And so there's the neurology behind what happens when you're activating left to right while reprocessing this memory helps to store it in the long-term memory. So that's one interesting tool. I mean, there's been a lot of research around psychedelic therapy for trauma. I mean, Responder Alliance doesn't endorse any of this stuff particularly, but there's a lot of compelling research behind it, I would say.
Well, Josie, this is a big reason why I want this to be here on the podcast, is because there are a lot of different ways, and some work for some people and some don't work for others. It's okay. It's the same thing that my boy James Boomhauer said. Like, if you go and meet a therapist and you're not clicking with them, find another therapist. You're not like, it's okay. And in one sense, like I went through something called Operation Restored Warrior. It helped me immensely, and I highly recommend it. It's designed for people in the that are having a hard time from military service. That is a way to help you. It's reconnect with God in one way, but give you that sense of it's okay. And if it works for you, I'm all about it. So I mean, I don't sell one or the other.
Is the I want to say, like, therapy isn't just about going and sitting on a couch and talking about your feelings. It can be that, but it can be a lot of other different things, and find something. Like, you don't have to stay in this state of red, stress injured. Like, there are ways to get support and to get out of it.
And you should stay in that state of red. Please don't stay in that for all of us, okay? Don't stay there. Get out of it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Josie, this is good stuff.
I've segued again because at 333, there's 3 3s, right?
Yeah.
3 days check-in, 3 weeks check-in. At 3 weeks, we can recommend out to definitive care. We want to do another check-in at 3 months just to make sure that people aren't, because there's a small percentage of folks that will have delayed onset of symptoms of stress impact, or maybe there's another triggering event, something like that brings up this feeling of being impacted. And so we just want to make sure people don't fall through the cracks down the line. Just check in with them. It doesn't even need to be much. It's like, could be even just a text message, or like, hey, you want to have a quick coffee or whatever, just see how you're doing. And that creates connection. It allows people to feel like they're supported. And we work with a lot of people in this industry that, work seasonally or contract based. Maybe they're deployed on, some specific disaster or something like that. And then they come back to their day-to-day lives. And 3 months later, they're not hanging out with the same people. They don't have the same support structure. Nobody knows what they saw and were exposed to. And so it can
Right.
feel really isolating. So checking in again, at that 3 month mark allows to make sure that, people kind of have gone back to their whatever their normal life is at that point, still have some support and don't kind of just fall off and disappear, like fade into the background.
Super smart, and I agree with all of it. And like, it's funny. I think about some of the people that I've interviewed, and some of the people that I've talked to personally, and then my own accounts is people have checked in with me, and then I've checked in with people, and I didn't realize when you think about that, the 3 day, 3 week, 3 month, that is a great way to do it. Yeah. I still ask a couple people that went through some gnarly stuff, like 6 months ago. I call from time to time, like, bro, how you doing? You doing okay? Like, is it hit you yet, or are we good? And most of the time, it's like, no, man, I'm still doing good. But you're still high.
Yeah.
You're riding such a high wave from whatever the event was, good, bad, or indifferent. So
Yeah, and thanks for saying that. Like people have such a variety of ways that they experience being exposed to something. As
yeah,
you said, like you're riding a kind of high almost. Like we're in this line of work where we're helping people and, doing rescues. It's exciting. And that's okay to feel like good about the work you did and, whatever the outcome was. And like you don't have to, like, we talk about all of this stress injury stuff, but like, you don't have to be in here by it. Like,
yeah,
you might be totally fine. And most people are most of the time. It's just that if you do this work long enough, there's gonna, at some point, there's a high likelihood that the stressors in your life line up with something kind of terrible at work. And you're like,
yeah,
I don't have enough anymore. I need to
correct.
kind of dial it back. So,
I think for me personally, and I like to bring it to me personally because it's a way I'd rather say me versus, oh, this is what people feel and do, because I don't know what people feel and do. I mean, I can make a general impression, but for me personally, I remember getting to the after my first couple of rescues, which all went relatively well, but they were gnarly, right? They were just, well, my first one was pretty gnarly, but it went well, and the guy lived. And then the next one I remember landing on the side of a beach and walking up and helping these guys out, and I'm like, man, this is freaking cool. But everybody lived, and it was like a good outcome every time. And it was all of a sudden, yeah, I want more of that. I want to do
yeah.
that again. That adrenaline high is when you're helping somebody in need, it's real. That adrenaline kick. It's good. And I understand why people get addicted to rescue and want to get out there and do it. They want to be that guy, that girl, that hero, the whatever you want to call it. The just yeah. Yeah, I can totally see it.
Goal of all this stuff is to help people maintain that excitement throughout their careers
Right.
so that they don't burn out and fade
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
Because we need more people in the industry that stay psyched and are, because the longer people stay in the work, the better. We use this concept of wisdom quotient, but like there's a higher level of wisdom within any organization if people are sticking around longer, a higher
Right.
developed skill set. So we want people to stay in it rather than it just being like, ah, you did it in your 20s, you burnt out, now you're on to something else.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, another thing I think about too with all of this is that, like, I'll use you and I again going like rock climbing. I love to rock climb. I absolutely love it. I had as a matter of fact, one of my buddies and I just recently went out. We were in the UK and went up to Vita Ferrata in the UK. And next thing I know, we're 1,000 feet up, walking on um these. They look like staples in the rock. They're all like rebar, just bent, and you're clipping it's like climbing a big ladder. It was so much fun. And I loved every second of it. I also look at it from the rescuer's side of it of what happens if I fell and got hurt? What do they have to do to come get me? But I don't mean to fall and get hurt. It just happens. I want to enjoy life to its fullest. And that's one way that I was doing it. But I also think of the rescuer side, like, all right, I don't want somebody to have to come get me right now. This is not, I don't want to ruin their day, but they're all pumped up. They're like, come on, something happened to Quinny Fall. I want to go like rescue you.
It is a weird line of work to be in where you're sort of like banking on people having bad things happen to them, but it's gonna happen, and so like we got to be there to do it. So like it's okay to like feel that way about it, right? Yeah.
Oh, it's hilarious. I you know what? Some of us call it a dark sense of humor, but you know we need that in this line of work. So, and everybody that does it, they're all shaking their head. Yep, yeah, you do, yeah, you do.
And I mean, humor is a powerful stress relieving tool. Like, it's how we connect. We laugh, which is it like changes our hormones a little bit. Like, is powerful with the neurochemistry that is, you know, if it's in a heightened stress response and we're producing all this cortisol, like laughter about it is good. It releases some of the cortisol, so it's healthy.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great. Josie, this is awesome. I'm really loving this. I like the idea of having these multiple ways of helping people like get their mind right with what we do. So the next question I've got is really more around the Responder Alliance organization things. How do you guys, as Responder Alliance, how do you guys tie all this stuff together to make it all work?
Yeah. Thanks for that question. It's good because these tools are great and beneficial and help spread the awareness, and I know people just benefit from like seeing what the stuff is, but really utilizing them and making them operational within your organization, your agency is how we really make changes. So creating cultural adaptations within the workplace around doing stress continuum check-ins actually on a somewhat regular basis with the whole team. How do you implement this incident support tool? Who is doing the 333 check-ins? All of that stuff. As people start getting into it, they're like, oh, we have questions around how to use this. So we at Responder Alliance, we have training courses on each one of these different tools and go into a lot more depth on, you know, what you can do for yourself as you start getting toward the red on the continuum, and then how to create support structure, all of that. So we have online courses, we have live trainings that we'll do, like we'll come out and train your whole organization.
Nice.
And the goal is really we look at it from like a 4 different tiered perspective, where every single person that is operating as a, you know, responder, something in the high risk line of work, every one of those people should be exposed to awareness as a basic concept of, we like to use it as a universal precaution, similar to like, okay, everybody trained that you should wear gloves if you're going to be exposed to bloodborne pathogens, because you can get bloodborne, you know, illnesses from exposure to those. Same kind of concept with stress is like, hey, this line of work has the potential to expose you to a lot of stressors. Here's some basic concepts of recognizing that and mitigating it that everybody should know. So at that base level, getting everybody training in those skills, and then training peer supporters as a higher level of, hey, you're the ones that can help implement some structure within the workplace of when to utilize the incident support tool, how to do the 333 check-in. And then training at a leadership level to support what needs to be done, like it, you know, structurally getting folks training, financial support, giving folks time off if they need it, if they're in the red, getting access to clinical care. All of those things, like decisions need to be made at the higher level, as well as creating an organizational kind of system structure, like feeling that we're supporting people in this way should come from leadership. And then the final, and then the final piece is training clinicians, to like professional licensed mental health care providers, to speak the same language, utilize these tools so they can be the ones that are like the first line of access if people really need that definitive care. Because it's so hard to find a therapist that understands you. Let's make it a little easier. So we train clinicians too and kind of connect. People can send clinicians that work with their organization to our training. We also, we have people that are working in certain regions that are training in our clinician hub, and are like, okay, this is a person that knows these tools, like you could access them. So at those 4 levels, like from the field responder level, the peer supporter, the leadership, and the clinician, is kind of how we make the whole system function to be supportive and resilient.
Awesome. Joe, this is great. This is great. How does everybody, how do people get in touch with you? How do they find you? Where do they find you as far as the Responder Alliance?
Yeah, so responderalliance.com is our website, and you can find info about all these trainings. You can even click through and purchase one of the online courses and just go through it right now if you wanted to.
Nice.
You can reach out directly to me at Josie, it's Josie at responderalliance.com too, and I'm happy to chat and send you more resources and see how we can get your whole team set up with more training. Whatever you need, I'm happy to chat and meet with folks.
That's awesome. I'm going to go take this. I'm literally going to take this. I'm going to give feedback. I'm going to let you know what I think, but I like everything I've heard so far. So Josie, this has been awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Not just going back to the organizational structures, that people do take these on their own, but really we're trying to get folks to get their whole organization trained. So most of our business model is kind of based around that. And where, for example, we work with a lot of ski patrols. They're just integrating a little piece, an hour or 2 of their ski patrol refresher that they do every year already, dedicating to this stuff. So it's getting the organization to buy in and put this into your standard training so that you don't have to do more is really the goal.
Cool. Josie, this has been awesome. I appreciate it. I'm going to ask you one more question, and then we can wrap this up. But you've had your own great experiences with not just this, but also in rescue and climbing, and you've had what sounds like a very fun career, and I can't wait to have you back on to hear some of your epic rescue stories coming off the mountain. Like I'm already jonesing about it. All right. But if there's a piece of advice that you could pass on for everybody out there doing the job, do you have it?
Yeah. So I think kind of going back to what I mentioned of my own stress injury and working with a sports psychologist and how she helped me identify what I needed to do to recover. A piece of that I didn't highlight enough that I really would like to is that she asked me what it was that I loved about the work that I was doing, about climbing, and to try to really identify that sense of mission, essentially. And I think it's something that, we're excited about the work a lot, but we don't really spend time thinking about how does this really fuel like who I am as a person and why I'm doing it. And I think that just bringing some intentionality and awareness to that, sit down, think about it a little bit. Staying oriented toward that sense of value in whatever it is that you're doing. Like if it's stressful, you're likely to be burned out by it if you don't know why you're doing it. So know why you're doing it and keep an eye on that.
That's good stuff. Josie, thank you so much for coming on and sharing this inside scoop. And everybody go check out the responderalliance.com, learn all about this stuff. Josie, when I get out to California, I'm giving you a call. Yosemite Moose said I'm coming out. A little shout out to Moose, by the way, just because he's the one to help. No, that's what I'm talking about. And rumor has it there might be a training I might be able to jump in on, like some river rescue training. So I'll just have to put you along.
Do it.
And maybe you and I can sneak away.
In Water, so he's a good one.
All right. I'm excited then. And then you and I can sneak away and do a little rock climbing. Huh?
That sounds great. Yeah, let me know.
Oh my God, I'm pumped already. Let's go. Right on. Josie, thank you again. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Good chatting with you.
Anytime. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Go. Now, it's time for me to pull chocks and take off. But before I go, I'm always looking for the memorable rescues that people have done. If you have one that you're willing to share or know somebody who has a story, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to highlight it here at the Real ResQ. For everybody that is standing by for that SAR alarm, remember, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. So until next time, fly safe and swim hard. Thank you for joining me today here at the Real ResQ Podcast, powered by Vertical Helicast. We'd also like to say thank you to our sponsors for this episode.
Blue Drop Training and Simulation. Blue Drop Training and Simulation for equipping your team with essential training solutions, including highly interactive courseware and advanced VR/MR simulation training tools. Explore more of Blue Drop's training solutions at bluedropts.com. Airbus. Airbus provides the most efficient helicopter solutions to its customers who serve, protect, save lives, and safely carry passengers in demanding environments. Its civil and military helicopters are flying all over the world, making missions possible. Visit airbus.com for more information.
And
Precision Aviation Group. Mission-critical operators and fleet managers rely on Precision Aviation Group as a worldwide leading rotor and fixed-wing MRO provider. PAG provides tip-to-tail solutions in 4 MRO segments: avionics, components, engines, and manufacturing DER services. A single point of contact gives you access to over 150 million in inventory, globally 24/7. Just call 800-537-2778. Precision Aviation Group. Others sell parts. We sell support.
Josie, in all your experience and stuff, is there a funny story that stands out to you in any of your trainings that you've done to prepare for rescues?
Yeah. So any of us in this line of work know that people will ask, like, hey, what's the gnarliest thing you've ever seen? And I have this story that I like to tell in response to that, because most of us don't really actually like to tell the story of what's the gnarliest thing. So I like to give this one. So we were, early season, high water, we were doing some swift water training practice. So we're like in wetsuits in the river. There's pretty low visibility in the river because it's whitewater. And I can see like 6-8 feet below the surface or something, there's something kind of wedged in these rocks. And I'm like, I want to know what this is. So I go dive down, and as I get closer, it's a bone. And there's some, it's not just bone. Like there's more to it than just bone. Something kind of hanging off of it. It looks a little gruesome, right? And I'm like, oh boy, what am I finding? But I'm down there battling with the wetsuit, which has some buoyancy, and I have PFD on because it's high water. Like we're not just swimming casually in the river, so it's like a lot of work to stay underwater, and I have to come back up for air. To come up for air, and there's 2 of us working together, like spotting each other if we go down under the surface, like to make sure that we come back up.
Yeah.
So I look at my partner and I'm like, hey, I'm going to go back down and check this thing out. So I swim down there and I grab a hold of this bone and try to pull it, and it is wedged. And I'm like kicking, fighting against the current, against popping up and trying to wrestle this bone, and it's not budging. So come up for air, and I'm like, to turn to my training partner, and I'm like, hey, I can't get it, but it's definitely a bone. Like we should see what this is, right? Like, maybe there's someone that was lost in the river. And so she goes down and wrestles with it a little bit, and she can't get it either. And I'm like, dang it. Like, I'm going to go one more time. So I go down, wrestle with this thing, like kicking at the end of my breath that I can hold. And finally I feel the bone crack underneath my grip, and it comes loose, which is like pretty gnarly if you think about it, right? If you don't know what this is. Like, is it a person? Like, what is this? And just feeling the bone underneath my hand as I pop back up to the surface, and I come up where I can see clearly, and there's a hoof on the end of it. It was a deer leg.
Oh my God. What the heck? Oh, Josie, what a trip. That's hilarious.
When people want to hear a gnarly story, I'm like setting them up for thinking this is like some human remains that we're finding, and no, just a deer.
Just a deer. Deer took a wrong turn. Oh my God, Josie, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Girl, thank you so much for sharing that.
Rescue animals too, or recover animals.
Oh my gosh.
Offensive to the deer.
It's fine.
No, it's nature.
Oh dear. Thank you, Josie.
Humor again.
Yeah. It never goes away. Thank you, girl.
You're welcome.